A little after 5, really. We'll go ahead and start the meeting if everybody's ready. I call this meeting to order. We will have the Lord's Prayer, then we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we get into the business. Everybody stand, please. Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we do to those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever. Amen. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Commissioner Hughes. Here. Commissioner Mosier.
Here.
Commissioner Richardson.
Here.
Commissioner Jinks. Here. Commissioner Stutz.
Here.
Hope you've had a chance to read over the minutes that were in the packet. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion made, second, in discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. The recorder now has a report on distributions.
Page 1 in the general fund, $4,746.10 to Blue Cross. That's a payment for both employee and employer portions of dental, life, disability, and accidental death. Further down that page, there was a TCRS contribution made for both the employee and employer portions of retirement, $29,754.83. We also had our fuel purchases for July, including the school system, $13,708.60. Further down that page, we made a $1,300 payment to County Record Services. That's the group that mails out our property tax notices. Page 2 of the general fund, we did some of the chipping of the brush picked up. GW and Son Excavating, total was $14,317. Sweetwater Utility Board does pay part of that. Monroe County Communications, $20,675. That was our first appropriation of the year towards the 911 payment. Public Entity Partners, this is an annual premium for insurance, $113,686. Towards the bottom of that page, our stormwater payment to Sweetwater Utilities Board for the month, $9,256. Page 3, K-Tech Exterior Cleaning did pressure washing downtown, $4,866.75. Half of that was paid by the Main Street group, and half of that was paid out of downtown improvements from the general fund. $14,727.50 payment for an SRO vehicle that was purchased used off Gov Deals through the SRO grant. Further down that page, $1,000 Sweetwater Kiwanis Club. That was a sponsorship of their marathon event this past weekend. Nothing significant on page 4 or 5 of the general fund. The State Street Aid Fund. You'll see where we voided the payment for the $100,000 dump truck. Once we got over there, we inspected it and decided it wasn't meeting the specs that we wanted, so we did not purchase it. Nothing significant in the drug fund or in the tourism fund. The library report is there, and Tanya is here if anybody has any questions for her. Law enforcement agency had nothing significant in it, only of revenue. And then on page 1 of Fund 132 is the garbage contract with Waste Connections, $24,000.49 for the month. No activity in the ECD fund. Does anyone have any questions?
Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion made, second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion does carry. There are no registered visitors for the public comment period, but we do have a public hearing, ordinance number 1025 and 1026. Is anyone present to make comment on ordinance number 1025, which is the amending the signed ordinance? Is anyone present to make comment on ordinance number 1026 to amend the budget? If
not, the public hearing is now closed. Now we have ordinance number 1025 to amend Title 14 zoning regarding signs and billboards on second and final reading. Everybody familiar with that? We discussed it. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion for approval of ordinance 1025 to amend zoning regarding signs and billboards on second reading.
Second.
Motion's made, second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, aye. Roll call, yeah.
Commissioner Hughes?
Aye.
Commissioner Mosier?
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson?
Aye.
Commissioner Jinks? Commissioner Stones?
Motion carries. Now we have ordinance number 1026 to amend the budget ordinance being ordinance number 1020 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024 on second and final reading.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would just like to make a couple of comments. It's my understanding, in light of the amount of money involved in this amendment, it's my understanding that we received the Parks and Recreation grant that we applied for earlier, which requires a match of how much is reported?
If we spend the full amount, it'll be $500,000 over the next 3 years.
And then now we only have about that much current year. We're only 3 years into this budget. And we haven't talked anything at all about what can we do about TMI, what are we going to do with the community center, and whether or not we're going to try to take in the high school. And those are all big ticket items. Mr. Ford even said, if you really want to think about that, you're going to have to think about money. And I think we maybe need to set some priorities, or even look at what we're proposing to spend in these amendments, in light of what we're already committed to, for this grant match, and those things. So I mean, that's my only concern. I don't have any doubt that everything's needed that's been asked for, but our ability to pay for it with the other things we've talked about is a bit of a concern for all of the TMI project, family rec center. No.
This totals around $410,000, give or take a little bit. This amendment adds funding to the current year budget for an extra employee in the street department. It will add a person to early replace one of our retirees in the parks department and covers about 3 months of additional salary as that current employee is already taking some of his leave now. So that makes up a partial year for that addition. It'll be filling a vacancy, but like basically we're doubling up on the person while the one person is off taking leave. And then it adds $100,000 for additional sidewalk projects. It adds $150,000 for vehicles. This includes everything that Commissioner Jinks pitched in the August workshop, plus what Commissioner Hughes asked for to double up for that parks employee during retirement. Plus the $10,000 from the tourism grant to repair murals, or to add a new mural. It does not include any funding about TMG, the LPRF grant, which I don't think we would be spending LPRF grant money until the next fiscal year, because they told us in our workshop last week with them that they would not issue the contract until July. So that will not be a current year budget item, but that is $500,000 that we will have to spend over the next 3 years by a contract date. So that, assuming we accept the contract with them, will be a priority that we have to commit to and follow through on. I believe that John Cleveland has an update on the TMG project, but that will be done in executive session later. What else? What other item did you mention that I haven't covered? But no, the only thing that's covered in this budget amendment is the mural, the Parks and Rec request, and the street department request. So I think what Commissioner Stutz is saying is we need to get together and talk about which of the projects, from the community center to TMI to additional parks and rec property to the LPRF grant match, we need to set priorities on what we're gonna spend, because we definitely can't do all of it at one time.
My only question based on discussion is how much of this is recurring from this point forward?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Commissioner James, but it's my understanding that the 100,000 for sidewalks will be added into the capital improvement fund for the next 4 years.
Yes.
So that would be a reoccurring expense, but you have the opportunity to not add that in the next, when we have this discussion again in the budget. Reoccurring expenses are always salary. So that top section that's under the general fund to add the extra person in the street department, that is certainly a reoccurring expense. And that does include the benefits involved with that also. So that top section, right at 42,000 from now through the end of the year would be reoccurring, and actually be a little bit more than that because this was calculated just for October through June. So it'll actually be higher than that when we have a full fiscal year. And the Parks and Rec employee, that's a temporary thing, so that would not be reoccurring unless you all chose to make it reoccurring. And then the rest of it, I believe, is a single time expenditure.
I would hope my training would increase in the future as well, the
The 1,500
the
for training.
1,500 for training, but we can also talk about that at the next.
But right now, if I'm hearing correctly, we've got a recurring cost from this point forward based on the next 5 years. If we so choose to put it in there, is $142,000.
That's very close, yes, that's accurate.
Okay.
And if the question is being asked, what money are we using to pay for this, which would be a good question to ask. When we closed the year June 30th, we did have an additional 400,000 and change in extra sales tax revenue over and above what we thought we were going to collect. So we did close our fund balance about $400,000 higher than anticipated. So in my mind, that's kind of wiped out with this ordinance. So that extra that we would have put back at the end of last year, basically we're amending the budget to spend that now. And any other projects, we are definitely going to have to sit down and figure out what we want to do and what order and how soon we want to do them, what has a grant deadline that has to be done by a certain time. So we definitely need to have that conversation for anything moving forward.
And
Why don't we put that in the workshop? This coming.
Commissioner Stutz mentioned the high school, but we also need to look at Big's house as well. Is that correct?
So,
There is a $2 million broadband grant too that I want you all to tell me which project you want me to apply for. So it's going to be very liberal in what we can apply for. And the county has also reached out to see if we might want to partner with them on part of it, because we had talked with them previously about turning the Biggs house into a co-working space. So maybe if they would apply for the grant for the co-working space in Sweetwater in the Biggs house, which it's unusual to have broadband money that they'll let you use on construction, but I just did this webinar last Thursday and they're going to, on the way to the airport, and they're going to let us use it for construction. So that was very interesting. But also we can apply for up to $2 million, so maybe we should use that towards a community center project. Because we definitely do not have all the funding in place right now for the community center. We have fund balance we can access, because we have a higher fund balance right now than we've ever had. But if we went way crazy, we could spend that fund balance in a year if we wanted to. So we do definitely need to have a conversation about priorities.
Got a question. What about the new guy from Park and Rec? We're gonna put down a hole too?
Okay, so this budget amendment does not include an additional employee for Parks and Rec. It only includes the replacement hire for Toby, who's retiring in January. It's just giving us a little extra time so that that person would start sooner rather than waiting until January when Toby's actually gone.
So we can go ahead with that project, right?
Yeah, assuming this budget amendment is approved tonight, you could go ahead and advertise for that position tomorrow if you want to.
My understanding is we're gonna put in on hold, we have another discussion.
no,
I don't think that's the, I don't think that's a motion. It's just,
we're just going to discuss some things coming up. Okay, we've got a motion and a second on ordinance number 1026 on the budget amendment. Roll call.
Commissioner Hughes.
All right.
Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson,
Aye.
Commissioner Jinks,
Aye.
Commissioner Stubbs.
No.
Motion carries. We reviewed this change on a one-way street on Wright Street. We took about 2 weeks to check it out good and make sure everybody was happy. Eddie, everybody, you and Lamar met.
I hadn't heard
And,
anything back in all.
uh,
I hadn't heard anything back from either one of them. Go with me, check.
If the board gives us authority, I'll get with Ms. Jinks, David, we'll get started on that. We've already talked about what it takes to make it happen. They've got, we'll get started on it, Get us going.
Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. Getting back to what Jim said, I understand where you're coming from on that, because why is it that we have to have a motion and a second to close a street and nobody votes on the project going on around the gazebo?
The minutes reflect that was voted on in June and July. June, we were approving the resolution for the plan that we submitted to TDOT for the project. Well, I'm sorry, in August was the second meeting, when Commissioner Jinks presented it.
I don't remember that. I remember him being here, but I didn't know that we voted on, something that extensive. We saw pictures, but do we not need to really sit down and go over and review what's, I'm catching a lot of flack over this, I'm telling you. You go to the grocery store, you go to church, you go to town, they hit me. What are y'all doing? Why'd you take up the trees? Why'd you block off the parking lot? That kind of stuff. And I just think there's been a lack of communication on this, that we have not all discussed this so that we all knew what was going on. But it seems like nobody knows what's going on. David, how's that project going?
Well, it was going real good. It's at a standstill now until we figure it out. Me and you had talked about it. You said you was all for it. Down at the gazebo.
I am for it. Yeah.
Now you're acting like you're saying you're not, though.
Well,
I've got a lot of work invested in that.
I'm for it to the point where that,
Mayor, you're bringing up something that's not on the agenda.
I know.
That's already been
I know.
voted on, so
I know.
I would ask us to
Well,
move.
you're overruled. But anyway, David, I'm not coming at you or anything like that.
Well, it's on me. I'm the one that's doing the work. My guys are doing the work. It reflects on us.
Yeah. Okay.
I make a motion, we stick to the agenda.
Second.
I'm not going to take a vote on that. We're pursuing it now. Okay. We have bids on vehicles. First, the police department has one bid open by committee today at 4, as advertised. It's been open.
Yes, it has.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, the price quoted is $47,701. That is for a 2025 year model, which I think they told us we could ask for in March. Is that right? It might have it to us by next fall.
That Ford's on strike now.
But they have committed to this price. It does meet the specifications we advertised. And this, our grant allows us to purchase 2 vehicles. I think it allowed $50,000 per vehicle. So we would move to accept this bid. I think commit the dealer to it for 2 vehicles.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Is that, I do have one thing. Is that, are y'all able to wait that long for 2 new vehicles or? is there
Well,
other-
yeah, I think we can. I think we can. It's all part of that, large grant we got, and we knew, we got everybody.
Did you say you could get this one, or is it to be made?
It would be bid.
Will,
2025.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries. In new business, we have one new full. Oh, we got another bid. How do we open one, then
We advertised it for it by committee.
Okay, Jackie Jones, vehicle 2021 Ford F-150 XL, mileage 16,116 miles, color is white, cash price $32,500. You want to look at these specs, Eddie?
This is for street parking.
Oh, this street park. David, you want to look at this?
I've looked at it.
You looked at this bid?
Yeah.
It does appear to meet the specs that we advertised. It's got 16,116 miles for a used 2021 Ford F-150 XL.
Thank you.
You want to reject it?
No, I'd like to accept it if it's okay. I'd like to accept it.
Okay. Going to accept the bid, so
Second motion.
Yeah, I officially a motion to accept that bid.
Yeah, she made a motion. Laura seconded, so we just now.
all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. In new business, we have one new full-time officer hired through the police formula grant to approve, and 2 new part-time officers. Commissioner Stutz.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we would, for the full-time position, like to hire Nick Williams. And the part-time, asked approval to hire Amanda Couch, Tatum Dupree, and Kenny Wilkins, who has been an officer here before, would like to come back part-time. Those are all within either budget or grants.
You're going to vote all of them at the same
Move
time?
approval, yes.
Same time. Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion does carry. We have ordinance number 1027 to accept Ridgeland Farm Street and other streets previously approved on first reading. We reviewed this in the workshop. Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion for approval of ordinance 1027 to accept Ridgeland Farm streets and other streets previously approved on first reading.
Second.
Motion made second. Any discussion?
When I drafted the ordinance, we had already discussed it among the staff here for planning, streets, department. And I said in there that it had been approved by the commissioner, and she's not had a chance to look at it, but she will have a chance before we have a second reading. So this is actually the streets on the back side of Ridgeland Farms have never been approved. So this is to approve those. The streets on the front side were approved on a motion, but they need to be approved on ordinance. So they've already been approved. And then we're confident that there are some as yet unidentified streets that have been approved on motion. And so this has a third component that approves by ordinance, streets that were already approved, other streets that are already approved by motion. It does those three things. And they're all timely, or will be by the time we get to the second reading.
Okay,
Thank you.
we've got a motion and a second, roll call vote.
Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Mosier,
Aye.
Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Jinks,
Aye.
Commissioner Stubbs.
Aye. Okay, we will continue to table a library appointment. Is there any other business needs to come up? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you for being here.